Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wombs with a View, Maternal Musings with Jenny and Sylvia. I almost lost it there, Jenny.
I know why you did. I'm Jenny. I know
Hi,
why you did,
Sylvia.
Sylvia. How many times a week, my dear, are you live? How many shows and
Yeah,
broadcasts in general?
a few. Well, two for sure, and then sometimes a third, sometimes a fourth, but
I have my new show, and every time I'm like kind of rehearsing my intro, like it's hard for us who are in Sylvia's life. So it's like not hard, but like myself and Miko, we're doing these things where we're on the screen and we kind of always have Sylvia's voice, and then like we're like she comes on with this big presence, and like I can't pretend to be Sylvia with this huge smile, you know. This is you, and this is me. But every time I have kind of this rehearsing of my new show, that Be Yoga, but every time in my head it's like wombs. I'm like, oh no, it's not that.
I
So
know that one day you'll flip up, and then I was actually just pressing a button and talking about, and I was like, what am I? And then we're live. Oh. Not that anyone's on right now, but we're not going to cut any of this because this is us. This is us, and yeah, we have to be ourselves. We have to be ourselves, right? We can't
What
be.
what a funny segue though, Sylvia, for what we're talking about today.
I
I think that's a
know.
huge underlying thing.
This is what we're talking about. Your couple after birth. What and that we want to go here. We do want to go here. I think it's an important part of the motherhood journey, and it's things we don't actually prepare. We don't prepare the couple before having a baby because we're so excited. I remember how, being pregnant and being super excited. Of course, we wanted our baby, but it does, going from 2 to 3, and then 3 to 4, and then 4 to 5, and it was major transitions every time. I'm honest with my
Mhm.
story. I'm sure it was a change in your life as well.
Oh my God, hugely. In my example, I was a nomad. I had a knapsack that I lived out for years, and I traveled, and I somehow landed in Montreal and met this great guy. And within the year, we were having a baby, and yeah, that changed everything drastically. My whole life, not even just the couple. I was with a couple the other day who was together for 10 years before they had their first kid. So I
Mm,
mean, that's a
yes.
whole other ball game, and that affects your couple after birth. And I think the main thing is we want to, for the most part, maintain that couple. So how do we remember that that's where this whole baby thing started?
Yeah, I was really inspired one time when, Heidi Klum, the supermodel, she was married to Seal, and they went online on, I don't know, it was Oprah or something, and she was saying, that the number one thing was their couple, and nothing's gonna come between them, and then a few years later they got divorced, and that really burst my bubble. I didn't have children at the time. I thought that was really inspiring, or maybe I did have kids, and I went, haha. I didn't. But it's I understood it though. I mean, it does change things, and 50% of couples separate, or I don't know if that's couples or marriages, but not that we're starting this episode on a Debbie Downer here, not at all.
We're trying to, I think what I would like to do by the end of this is leave people with some ideas of how to not be in that
Yes,
50% at this moment. Because it
yes.
is an easy, like you're saying, you see how it happens. And it's no huge secret that I'm divorced for a year now, or separated for a year now, and I will never blame the kids. But there's this other dynamic, right? You have your couple, and for those people who never have children, who choose to never have children, they always have their couple, and they have themselves. It's important to be ourselves, like you said,
Mm,
and they have their couple,
mm,
and that's where they can put all of their energy. Then baby enters, and it's very normal that mom is giving all of that energy to baby, as in the beginning she should be. She
right.
should be giving all. That's the only energy she has left, is for the baby, but hopefully dad is in there too, putting food in her mouth as she's feeding the baby. They're
Mm,
you know they're still in that couple. But one of the things that I love in my work as a postpartum doula, so an example, this week I was with a couple, and I was with baby, and the couple went out on a date. Mom fed the baby, young baby, and the two of them left together. They could have done
oh,
this, they
how
could have done
nice.
that. So either a couple will go nap together, That is my job well done as a postpartum doula, or they actually left the house and went for a walk together, and remembering why they chose to have a baby in the first place. I think that would be what I want people to come away with at the end of the show today.
Yeah, and in our classes, Jenny and I teach our classes at Rock the Cradle. There's a whole section on, how this is going to change things, and it can really accentuate any issues that you already have. And couples all have some issues. If it's the toilet paper roll that really bothers you, and when you're when you're tired and have a baby and the toilet paper roll is not on, or whatever it is, those issues are look 10 times worse than they often are. Having had 3 kids, I mean, for those, I've been with the same partner now. It's 19 years, 19 and a half years, and 3 kids later. And there are adjustments. There were adjustments every time there was a newborn in the house. Every time. I don't lie about it. And it's not always easy, right? And what saved us, I think saved us, is communication. Mm-hmm. Communication, and saying, well, what do I need right now from you? And like you said, having that spouse feeding us the food. I was very lucky to have someone that did do that, and helped me in other ways, and felt very lucky.
Oh, I did too. I had that, and he washed the disposable, he didn't wash the disposable diapers. That would be overkill. He washed the reusable diapers, and was so hands-on. Like, it was definitely not for me a case, and it still isn't a case of me doing 100% by myself. It's always been half-half.
Yeah, that co-parenting, we talk often co-parenting when the couples are separated, right? Parenting, but I think we need to co-parent as we've got a new baby. And as a new mom, I think it's important to create those boundaries immediately, even before baby is coming. What do we need from our spouses? How do they talk to us? I think that's but often it comes later. We don't realize that, or we put ourselves last. I think that's often we'll put our needs last. And that is not good, not when we're not sleeping properly.
No, this becomes resentment in the end too. But it is such a natural thing, like we said, to just give, that if we're not having any time to fill our cup up, there's nothing left to give.
Yeah, no, that's true. So communication, if you've got questions about this topic, or if you have experience, how was it after your babies came? If you already have your babies, if you're pregnant, what are you worried about? I mentioned communication for sure, asking for that help, allowing.
See, I want to cut you off there, because I think that even just thinking of it in that way is kind of a little messed up.
Is it? Okay.
But no, okay. Not that the way, not maybe, I guess what I'm saying is to think of dad as helping mom, or to think of dad as babysitting baby, No. I don't think that's what you meant, but I think a lot of times we're programmed that mom is quite often the primary caregiver, and dad's just there to help her. And I think that going into it that way probably causes more problems than
that's not where I was coming from. I was coming from, okay, here I am with a new baby. I might look okay and I might sound okay, but inside I might not be okay, but I'm not willing to let that other person know. And our spouses don't often know when we're hungry or thirsty, or, and sometimes the other person, whether that be your mom or whoever's around you, they might be oblivious to your needs. So that's where I'm more about.
So you're talking about
vocalizing, communicating what I need as a new mom. Like, I need to have that nap right now. Take the baby. Not asking for the baby. Not asking, can you hold the baby? Well, no, here's the baby. I need to sleep, so I'm going now. Like, it's communicating what I need.
It's interesting, because I feel like I always see these parallels between the postpartum and even in the labor room, of us being able to assert ourselves and be able to say, and it's not always in our nature to stand up for ourselves and ask for what we need or ask for what we want. We don't have to need it. Just wanting it is okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember with a new baby and calling JP up and saying, "When are you coming home? I've had enough. I've had enough. Come home early. I need some help." Right? And he'd say, "Well, okay, I'm coming home soon." And I'd be waiting there with the baby and say, "Okay, I'm out of here. Bye. You guys have fun." And allowing him to do his thing with Tristan, Coraline, or who, and Gail, and then me just taking off. I have a, if you've been in my classes, you'll know that Pharmaprix was one of my best friends. After having a new baby, that was my sanctuary, just to go.
Oh my God.
Just to go and just be by myself, right? But
You're not even talking going to the spa or getting your nails
oh
done. You're just like, give me
no,
some fresh air.
it was
See,
just
but it's
fresh
funny
air.
because we're talking about nurturing the couple, but in order to even be able to do that, we also need to be taking care of ourselves. That's
What it
the
comes
whole
down to,
thing.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So finding time for baby, who's going to take the majority of the time, and finding time for yourself, and finding time for yourselves as a couple. And obviously now we're in COVID. There's no going out to a restaurant, but being in a couple, if we are in the context of being able to go out on dates, even if it is just a walk, it doesn't se dérange rien. It doesn't get in the way if baby's in a baby carrier and you're still, baby's sleeping and you're still having a moment of the couple. It doesn't mean that you need to get a babysitter in the first weeks and in months of life. You can still do stuff as a couple. It's that you have an intention to spend time together. I think even if it's something as simple, and it is unbelievable, unfathomable to most people who are pregnant, that just the idea of like, oh, you know how you guys are watching this Netflix series? God, like my husband and I were watching Dexter. We were watching True Blood. This was like almost 10 years ago. We had our series that we watched because we were a young couple, and that's what we did on our time off. We watched these series, and then I don't think we watched another series until the kids were, like 7 or something like that. It can be so hard to find. I don't know. There must be time because people do it. It's just, I think, prioritizing and that to me was so precious. Like, man, I just want to sit on the couch together and watch a Netflix movie or a series or whatever.
Well, I noticed we couldn't do that at the beginning. Us too. That was our connection time prior to children, and of course restaurants and films and concerts and all that. But that quickly changes. If we talk about couple after birth, well, we don't do those. We didn't do those things after having children very often. Especially in the beginning weeks. But you'll hear us talk about sometimes, if you look at a past episode on breastfeeding, about those witching hours. The newborns often cry and need you and are cluster feeding from about 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. And those were the times, let's go back a little bit when shows were on cable. And you had to watch it on a Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Well, we would try and watch these shows and we could never do it until one day we could. And we were like, the witching hours are done, weeks, maybe a month or two later. And then finally we could go back to, zonking out on the couch for a little while. But adjustments and being open to change.
I have seen some couples who are really great at it, who I've even gone over as a postpartum doula in the evening for exactly that reason. They want to have a nice dinner together, whether somebody cooked it or they ordered in. I'll go in the other room, take care of baby. If baby needs to eat, fine. But if baby's been fed, just go and be quiet with baby and, even have baby fall asleep on me on the rocking chair while there's even lit candles on the table. Like it takes so much friggin' effort to make that happen.
Yeah.
But you absolutely have to put in that effort. Otherwise, where's the couple? It will inevitably deteriorate. It will inevitably, if you're seeing it go like this and you don't make an effort, it will go like that.
It goes down. Well, then because people are living in 2 silos, right? And they're not taking that time. So if we're not doing date nights anymore, where do we find? Is it a date breakfast? It's a date lunch, perhaps. It's calling in people. I have a client, and she works with couples, particularly with young children who are having issues. And one of her 2 tips that she would tell her clients, she said, is checking in with the other person, perhaps at the end of the day, or when you see that there's a moment in your day of just how are things, like, what do you need from me in this moment, to acknowledge that they need to are feeling heard. So it might be, oh, well, no, I need a glass of water. That would be lovely. Or really just checking in, both of you, right? And each having time to see where we're at. And also kissing for 6 seconds. We need a kiss in there that lasts for 6 seconds. You know how long, and that's a long kiss, 6 seconds. But she said that is one of the tools that she uses, and I've tried it at home, and it's it works. It works to create that.
And the kids are all there like, ew, ew.
Yeah.
You know, go in another room. Otherwise, you're gonna have the peanut gallery. I think the check-in is such a nice thing, and I think one of the things that happens with most of us is those check-ins become business only. Those check-ins become talking about how many times the baby pooped and like all this stuff, which we need to communicate. But then, you know, in this stereotypical example, which usually the mom's taking a longer mat leave, dad's away for work, comes home, we still need, like, we had a hard day and he needs to acknowledge that, but we also maybe need to show some interest in maybe how hard
he's doing
at work and what, you know, what's new and exciting for him. And outside of, again, it's like there's the baby and there's the couple and there's the human beings within the couple. So how is every individual person doing? That's important too.
Yeah, and I think different people need, you know, have different focus. Have you ever done the love languages, where the 5 love languages? If you like, I think words of appreciation. If you like gifts, touch, time, quality time, and I'm missing one. I can't remember the other one. But knowing what your partner's love languages are, and putting that in your day, actually. So if you know. That touch is important, or that words of appreciation. I'm words of appreciation, and that goes a long way. Acts of service is the other one. So doing the dishes for me. Wow, you know, if you can, you know, do the dishes, get those brownie points. So that was another tip that another coach was talking about. But I think it's knowing your partner. But let's talk sex.
Yeah, I was wondering when we were going to get there. Yeah, we definitely should.
Let's talk about it.
Sex or lack of sex. So definitely, whether you want to, whether you feel like it, is huge. Definitely before that 6-week checkup, you're not going to want to go there. Even maybe if you feel like you want to hormonally, which can happen, you can have a surge of hormones. But I think with actual intercourse, making sure that stitches, etc., are healed well is important.
Well, everyone has a 6-week, often you have a 6-week appointment, right, with your caregivers. So they give you the, which is often I find just to talk about birth control, which is related to sex, right? So,
oops,
they give you the go ahead, you know, they'll check your cervix, see if it's in place, and then to ask about birth control. So yeah, one thing, my spiel about that is no pressure, like no pressure. There's no pressure to have sex at 6 weeks. We shouldn't feel any pressure. So when I'm in my classes, I address the partners a lot there, not to put pressure on new moms, because physically we are still healing. And that might be the furthest physically, thing from
emotionally, spiritually, we're healing. This is a huge trauma. Doesn't really, it can be a huge trauma regardless of how birth went. It is a traumatic event that has happened to your body physically. Like you often, Sylvia, use the example of feels like you got hit by a truck.
Oh yeah, my whole body was so sore. Yeah. And then, you know, you've got the perineum, you've got your boobs, or you're lactating. And I was just thinking, have fun with it when you do start. But no pressure to start at 6 weeks. So just so you know, if you're pregnant and listening to this, it can be before, like Jenny said, if you're really into it. It can be at 6 weeks. It can be after 6 weeks. I've worked with new parents, and they were at the 6-month mark and they still hadn't been intimate. However, that does affect the couple. So, you know, if we're not having sex, there is still, I think, intimacy. You know, if I can.
There's so much around that. There's all kinds of fun, you know, teenage kind of stuff that you could go, you could revisit all of that stuff. It doesn't have to be about intercourse by any means.
No. I think there's a lot you can still do and still have done without, if you are having issues with stitches and it's painful and whatnot, because sometimes it is long and it's longer, and there's no rules to healing. But
psychologically too, like I think psychologically, first time, just like we talked about the first time you poop, if you've just had a baby, that first time we do anything after we've given birth, it's scary.
Exercise,
It's like,
yeah.
the first time having sex after giving birth is probably similar in a lot of ways to the first time ever having sex. You know, it can be anxiety, it can be all of these things. Even though you have that familiar person in front of you, it's a new learning for everybody. Also, too, like, we're not sex educators. I can't believe we're live talking about this. I'm so embarrassed. But
are
you
you?
know, like,
are you
a little bit? I don't know,
yeah.
a little bit, because it's live, and like, God, who knows who's watching this? Like, it's not in a class where we see the couples and they're interacting with us. Anyway, hi, whoever's watching. Maybe you got it to this point, and maybe you didn't. But like, just hormonally, breastfeeding or not, like, I think in order to, I hate this idea, but I hate the idea of associating sex life with breastfeeding and assuming that because we're breastfeeding hormonally, we're not going to want to have sex. But there's something around that in some cases, and in terms of even just like lubrication and how that is affected by the breastfeeding hormones. Like, that's real. And so 3 years is no, I'm not saying wait 3 years, I'll get there. But to have a second kid, so they say that 3 years is like the time where the body
ideal time
has healed enough that, you know, so yeah, I think there's a big pocket of time in there where women who are still nursing are not even there in their heads. They're giving to baby, and I think it's normal. And I think I'm not a historian, but I think just like in this time that we live in, where most people are in monogamous situations, it's not the same as living in society. You know, I think of this like matriarchal society where I remember learning once that the word uncle came before, not in English, but word uncle came before the word dad, because you know, woman would be pregnant, she'd have the baby, and it was kind of irrelevant who dad was, because all of these men could be here to take care, and then this guy might have, you know, because in that time that she was pregnant and or in this nursing period, he could perhaps be impregnating somebody else, and that was the way it was. And this, I mean, this usually doesn't fly here in this society, but I think like biologically, it's possible that a man's sex drive isn't going to shut down because a woman's sex drive has shut down. So it can be a bit of an awkward thing, you know, and we're saying, oh, to the guys, oh, be patient, have control. And I think that's all valid in this context. But I think biologically, it's probably less normal for a man to shut down in that same time frame.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, if for sure they're biologically set to have children, right? To sow the seeds. but afterwards, our libido is a big thing that can go down. Does that make sense? It's a thing that, you know, we don't always have a strong libido. I had Amadea Kazar on the Doula Dialogues one time. If you don't know Amadea, she's a wonderful pelvic floor specialist. Her and her team, they help with these types of issues, and that's what she was saying. She listed, you know, 4 or 5 great lubricants to use. You know, maybe I'll go find the episode and I'll put it in the comments here, because that was a great one as well. And she's like, yeah, take your time, use the lubricants, have fun with it. And I remember laughing because, you know, you have 20 minutes before the baby might wake up, or we just put the baby down and we hope the baby sleeps, and then you start getting things, and then the baby starts to wake up. So then you go rock it, feed it, put it back down. You take 2. Okay, take 2. Here we are again. And then this time, you know, and then the breasts are leaking because and then you're like, okay, well maybe I'll put my bra on with the pads, and you know, so I'm not leaking everywhere, because that's just you know, and then. By the time then the baby wakes up again, you're like, okay, I think I'm done for tonight. I think I'm just
let's try next month.
Do this another time. But I think I remember laughing.
You are laughing, and that's the important part, is keeping the humor. And also, like everything we talk about in pregnancy, whether it's contractions or whether it's the witching hour or the poussée de croissance, whatever thing is happening, none of it's permanent. And this if we feel like it's like a lull, whether it's in our sex life or just in our connection with that couple, it will and can come back up. But again, I think it takes effort. It takes effort to want to do it and to remember. And I've talked to so many moms that are just being point blank honest and like, oh, you know, that guy, like, you know, the connection can be severed quite quickly when you're focusing on this new human who then becomes quite naturally your focus. But it doesn't have to stay like that, and you probably don't want it to stay like that. You want to be, when we talk about the baby moon, it's not just mom in bed, skin to skin with baby. Hopefully dad is there too. Hopefully you guys are doing all of that together as a couple, and continuing to have those bonding moments, even if baby is still there.
Yeah, no, I say it's a family time. I'm always like, the three of you get naked and stay in bed for 2 or 3 days, right at the beginning, and just get to know this new unit. Yeah, oh, it's so good. It's so good. Any questions? We have people listening. What's your experiences with?
They're just watching. They're just watching us talk about sex. Come on, say something, people. What are your tips? But we definitely don't want to leave it on a hopeless note. I think, like we said at the very beginning, the intention is just please encourage you to be conscious of it. Even, especially if you are pregnant, know that understand what we're saying as two people who have experienced it, who have had lots of experience with other women, moms in our lives, who we watch these things deteriorate and break apart, and we watch these things not deteriorate and break apart. And but again, I think you need to want to keep nurturing it, and you need to want to keep the clear communication. You also this this idea of stay together for the kids. This is a big thing that a lot of people do, and sometimes we do it for years and years. We stay together, and then sometimes those couples still survive. Those couples are still married. Our parents, 50 years, well, not my parents, but
yeah, mine.
But, they have their
years maybe, and they could have split up many times, I think.
So I don't know
after
that
having
their
kids.
thing was.
Yeah,
I don't think that their thing was any easier than anybody else's in that time. And maybe there's different reasons why some generations didn't and don't divorce, and others are a little bit more. In Quebec, nobody even usually gets married. So.
Well, I think, but it's the same thing with talking about couples, having one thing I would like to leave everyone, and our colleague Mika is really big on this, is creating your family values. It's a wonderful exercise that you can, do with your partner while you're expecting. And if you haven't done it and you still have children, you can do this anytime. What are your family values? What do you believe in? What do you hold true? What will get you through thick and thin? And that you're both working towards these family values. We have individual values, of course. But, what are our family values? Is it health and well-being? Is it happiness? Is it travel? Is it whatever they're personal, but to do this exercise together, so that when there are some rough patches, I'm thinking of the holiday season right now, and pandemic holiday season, there are lots of emotions going about, we're allowed to party. Well, who are we going to party with, and who's going to get our time? And even, non-pandemic is, splitting up time, and the mothers-in-law, and all of these family dynamics. As a couple, if you are not strong and being held together by something, so I call them the values, it's easy to get caught up in lots of drama. But when there is drama, you always come back to the values as what do we believe in as a couple. And I think that's a wonderful exercise to do.
It's funny, but just even for me, even just thinking, we're here talking about the couple, but thinking of this as a family, it's not always like that, right? We have our jobs, we have our careers, we have our separate stuff. Sometimes dad comes home, mom goes to work, and it's the family unit that that we need to nurture, for sure.
Well, there we go. I think we're done with this show.
Good luck, guys. Leave some comments, please, questions, and hopefully
when you're watching the replay.
Other moms can comment on each other. Sylvia and I certainly aren't the experts, but we just have, as always, our own experiences that we like to share with you, hoping to make things feel a little bit lighter and a little less scary. We can laugh about the possibility of scary stuff, but but we can also assume that things, yeah, again, everything's like birth for me. I don't know about you, Sylvia, but I relate everything to birth. You know, you can go in there expecting the worst, expecting, oh my God, we're having kids. Okay, it's going to translate for sure, 50% divorce rate. We're on our way there. Or you can go into it assuming everything's going to go well. You know, assume it's going to go well and make it go well and focus, you know, law of attraction, focus on that thing going well instead of assuming it's going to go badly.
Exactly. Well, on that, let us know in the comments. And we're going to be here next week with a guest. We're going to be talking about what is it called?
Baby. Oh, did you not do it? Oh, this will be so fun. So we're talking about introducing solids.
Yeah.
More specifically focusing on baby-led weaning, which I did with both my kids 10 years ago. It wasn't really the popular thing, whereas now it's quite popular. So I'm assuming that you don't even know what it's called. You probably didn't do it.
I did do it. I did do half. I did purees. I did baby-led weaning, you know, whatever we ate. But not, yeah, I'll share my stories because it was different as the kids grew up and different kids had different things.
Yeah, great.
We're going to talk about that with our guest, Naomi Berkowitz, who's a nutritionist and lactation consultant.
Yeah, that'll be really great.
So we'll see you then. See you next week, Wednesdays through 11:30 a.m. If you want to take some amazing classes, prenatal, postnatal, hypnobirthing, you can contact jennybyoga.com. If you want prenatal classes, doula services, at rockthecradle.ca. We'd love to help. Bye. Have a wonderful week, everyone.